So basically, the 3-period lesson, it's like a Montessori tool that we use to teach the language of anything. It could be like names of things or attributes for things, whatever it is, but we use it to teach the language. And when we do the 3-period lesson, we usually have 3 objects. So you can have more in the basket, but when we're teaching it to the child, we'd only use 3 at a time. If it's a really young child or a child who's finding it difficult, we would do 2 to start off with and then see if they can get it. So it's called a 3-period lesson because, do you want to get the tissue? It's called a 3-period lesson because it's got 3 parts to it. There's 3 periods, 3 parts to the lesson. And it's really important that you have each part really, really clear exactly in that way, because that's the formula that makes it work. So this lesson has like we're working on the recall memory, we're working on using their different senses, we're working on the way it's structured is a way that's going to support them in their learning. So that's why it should be like this. There's a lot of people who will vary the 3-period lesson, but from what I found, if you just stick to the core part of the 3-period lesson, that's the best. So it's 3 parts. The first part is the naming part. So we're going to name and we're going to give them the object. So the naming and the association is done by us, which is that we name it and we associate it because we're giving them the object. So the naming and association is together. So I'll name this and I'll say, this is amethyst. Amethyst. Can you say amethyst?
Amethyst.
Amethyst. Do you want to hold it? This is amethyst. Amethyst.
Amethyst.
Amethyst. And I'd want to make sure that the child gets the chance to hold it. And I want to make sure that they say it as well, at least 3 times, because you want them to practice that pronunciation so that they can say it when it comes to the time that at the end when I'm going to ask them, right? So you introduce each one by one. So you bring one out to the mat, you introduce it to the child, you say, this is amethyst, and you ask the child to hold it and repeat it after them. Amethyst, amethyst, thank you. And then once you're done, you put it back in the basket, and then you take out the next one. This is rose quartz. Rose quartz. This is rose quartz. Rose quartz. This is blue agate. Blue agate. Blue agate. So you can see that's how we do the first period. You're just taking one at a time, and then you're putting them back, and the child's focus and attention is just on that one thing that you are showing them. And that's why we keep the mat clear. We don't put everything out at the same time. We just keep the mat clear and we just put the one thing. And so when I say blue agate, it can only be that one. So there's no chance of error for the child, right? But you want to involve their senses. So you want to make sure they say it. You want to make sure they feel it. They want to make sure they see it. They want to make sure they hear it. So you're using multi-sensory input to help the child to acquire that. So that's the first period. Very simple. And when you come to the second period, you want to remember the last one that you did, which was blue agate, right? So you want to remember the last one, and we're going to take them out in that sequence. So I'm going to say, this is the blue agate, this is the rose quartz, and this is the amethyst. So now we're going to have 3 things out at the same time for the second period. And now I'm not going to do the association. I'm just going to say the name, and they have to associate what I've said to the object. But to make it easy for the child, always remember which is the last one that you said, because that's going to be the first one for the next command. So we use a series of commands. So like I'll say things like, can you give me, can you hold, can you feel, can you put it over here? I'll give different commands, but every time I give one command, I'm going to go through each object. And I'm always going to start with the last object because that's the last word that's in their mind. And for the second period, you want to make sure they've at least said it a few times so that when we come to the third period, it's easy for them to say that as well. Okay? So the last one I put down was amethyst, right? So I'm going to start with the amethyst. So I'm going to say, Amira, can you point to the amethyst? Can you point to the blue agate? Can you point to the rose quartz? That's one command, right? So now I'm going to change my command. I'm going to start with the rose quartz because I'm changing it and using the last one. So can you give me the rose quartz? Thank you. Can you give me the amethyst? Thank you. Can you give me the blue agate? Thank you. Can you feel the blue agate? Can you feel the rose quartz? Can you feel the amethyst? Now she's naturally saying it, right? Because she's done the 3 period lesson so many times, so she knows that's part of it. But if the child is not saying it, then you would actually say, can you point and say, or can you hold and say, right? So can you point and say amethyst? Can you point and say blue agate? Can you point and say rose quartz? Can you hold the rose quartz? Can you hold the amethyst? Can you hold the blue agate? So from this 3 period lesson, you can see the second period, she kind of has associated the language to the object. She's associated it, and she hasn't really made any mistakes. So I know she's ready for the 3rd period, right? So if a child makes a mistake, you would correct it like this. So Amira, point to the wrong one, okay? I'm going to ask you to point to the amethyst, and you point to the wrong one, okay? So I can show them what to do if it's a mistake, okay? So can you point to the amethyst? This is rose quartz. Can you point to the amethyst? So that's just how you correct it. So you don't say no. You don't say to the child, oh no, that's not wrong. Do you remember which one it is? You don't say that. You just give them the information. So she's pointed here. So you just name what this is. So you're adding information rather than taking away, making them feel like guilty or making them feel like, so their mistake becomes an opportunity for more learning, right? So because her 2nd period was fine, I can go straight onto the 3rd period. The 3rd period is very short. It's very, very simple. I'll just say to the child, and I'll start with the last one, which is the amethyst that we did. So I'll just say to the child, can you tell me what this is? Can you tell me what this is? Can you tell me what this is? Blue agate. Yeah. Because there's a break there, maybe that's why she, but you just ask, can you tell me what this is? Can you tell me this is? Can you this? And that's it. And that's it. Now, if they want to have a conversation, this is when you have the conversation, not during the 3 period lesson. So I might say to her, do you see this amethyst? This is the same as my bracelet. Look, this is amethyst as well. And this is amethyst. This is my favorite stone. And this is blue agate. Sometimes there's small stones that are blue agate. Look at the color. It's really beautiful. And you can see it's got lines on it. Can you see? And look at this one. Can you believe it's just pink? Naturally by itself. So the time that you will talk will be when after. It wouldn't be during the session, because then they're going to their attention will go to the details rather to the language, which is what we want to give first. So you can do this 3 period lesson with anything. You can do it with animals. So with really young children, we do it with animals. You can do it with you can use pictures if you don't have objects. We use it to teach counting, to teach numbers, to teach letters, all sorts of stuff.
So let's say you reach the 3rd stage and then they don't remember, then you go back to the 1st stage?
So if, let's say she only remembered one, okay. I'll just say thank you very much, and then I'll just another time sit with her and do it with her again, right? So you just see what they remember another time, because there's no guarantee when she comes back tomorrow that she'll remember all of them, right? So then I'll check first which ones she remembers, and then I'll choose 3 that she can't remember them, or new ones that she doesn't know, and then we will do that again. So that's how you just keep doing the 3 period lesson again and again and again and again, and eventually they'll acquire all the language for that.
So for the number ones, you actually say in sequence.
Yeah.
The purpose is?
Because they're still learning the sequence of numbers.
Oh, but other things, it doesn't matter if it's random.
Yeah. If it's something like that's just random, then you don't have to do it in sequence. But if you're teaching numbers, you have to do it in sequence, because there's a sequence linked to that, to the numbers. So you can also use the 3 period lesson to teach a foreign language, and that's what we do with Arabic. We have the Fadila will take the animals or take things in Arabic, and she'll be doing them with them in Arabic, and that's why they know a lot, right? In Arabic, they know a lot. Even you know some in Arabic as well, don't you? Some animals and stuff, right? Lots, right? So that's how they acquire the vocabulary, and for Arabic it's mostly nouns, but then you can use pictures to do the verbs and so on.
Okay. So what do we do if the child interrupts?
How?
Oh, I know this.
If they know it,
my cat. Oh.
if the child already knows it, I wouldn't put it in the 3 period lesson because they know it. I'd use the 3 period lesson to do stuff they don't know.
Or maybe they say something like, what is this? Like they're interrupting the...
Yeah, so let's say she says to me, oh, is this the same as your ring? I'll just say, yes, it's the same as my ring. Let's do the 3 period lesson, then we can talk about it. Yeah? So you acknowledge what they're saying, because of course they want that acknowledgement. You acknowledge what they're saying, but don't lengthen it, and then direct them to when you're going to give them the opportunity to discuss that.
Okay. So the first period is called naming?
Yeah, so the first period is naming, and you're naming and associating at the same time. So you're saying the name and you're associating it to the object.
One by one.
One by one. And you only have one out at a time, so it's isolated as well. Okay. The second period, you're naming, but you're not associating. They have to associate what you've said to the object. That's the second period, and you have 3 out at the same time. And you do that through using different commands. So you change the command. So you can say, can you point to, can you give me, can you hold, can you feel, can you put it here, can you put it there? You can change the sequence as well. Like I can say to her in the second period, I say, can you put the amethyst here? Can you put the blue agate here? Can you put the rose quartz here? So you can change, you can swap them around to make it more challenging as well. You can swap them around. So you just use different commands one by one, but you go through each one of them with the same command before you change. So you're naming and they're associating. And for the third period, you're not naming and you're not associating, you're just asking what it is. So they have to do both the naming and associating together. Okay. So you can see it's like leveled to gradually become more challenging for the child.
Is this the way the human memory is formed?
Yeah, because it's step by step. You're getting the information, so now you have to. You're doing that first. The recognizing, and then you're doing the memorizing, and then you're doing the understanding. Yeah, that you know it, because now she knows it.
So this can be done in anything in our life for the kids, right? So the minimum and maximum number of items, does it matter?
Usually for the 3-period lesson we just use 3. If it's someone who is younger, we can use 2. If it's an elementary child and they're more capable and they can cope with 5, you can do 5. But usually it's not so many.
So like for the planets, do you apply 3 periods?
You can, if they have difficulty. You can go now if you want to. It's okay.
Thank you, Amira. Thank you.
Yes, you can get a tissue. If they have difficulty remembering the countries, you can use it to teach it.